Hi everyone, I'm just going to do a really fun and simple get ready with me. I just finished filming a bunch of looks using the NATASHA DENONA Dream palette, and I do like to intersperse my eyeshadow palette marathons with some easier get ready with me so that I can kind of keep the content coming and just kind of relax a little bit. I really just want to try playing around with some other things that I've not maybe not yet shown on camera. I'm gonna just use some lip balm. I've been using Balm lately. I kind of go between my lip balm collection and just kind of I'll randomly use something for a couple of weeks and then I'll switch to something else. It's a shame that Balm got discontinued. It is kind of like almost fall, but of course it's still hot where I live, so that's kind of just, it doesn't really feel like fall over here, I'll give you that much. But I thought I would do something kind of fallish. I'm not sure what I'm going to use yet, if I'm going to use singles or palettes or whatever, but I thought something fall-y. I have no idea what I'm doing today, so I think we'll just have some fun with it. We'll see what I feel like doing. So I'm just going to use the REPHR moisturizer. My skin is meh. It's not been doing that great. I really hope that once it's done being summer that my skin can recover a little, but I don't know, my skin has not been doing that great. And then I'm going to use the POREfessional light primer just around my T-zone. It looks just like POREfessional, but the moment you actually start working it in with your fingers, it changes dramatically, and that's when you kind of realize, oh, this is like actually pretty different. It is very, very watery feeling, and it kind of becomes water on your face. It thins out dramatically once you actually apply it, so I really like it. I feel like this is kind of like a step up from the original POREfessional. I feel like this is superior to the first POREfessional in basically every way. I almost would consider this better than the hydrating version. And then I'm going to finish priming with the JACLYN under eye primer. I am going to be getting a lash lift this evening, so I'm not going to be able to wear this makeup for very long. And then I'm not going to be able to film for about the next 2 days because I need my lashes to set. My schedule this weekend got kind of screwed up because I got wrecked by the new 4th poke. I'm glad I got it, and the first 3 I got really sick afterwards, and this one is no different, so I fell behind on a lot of things this weekend, but there's not really much I can do there. Okay, and then I'm gonna take the under eye corrector. I honestly should give my under eye primer more time to set in before I put on under eye corrector, but I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put some on. I am going to use my finger this time, and I kind of like to focus it. See that border right here, this line I have? I'm gonna focus it literally right at that border, and it helps make the border less visible. And you can kind of see there's a very slight difference in how visible the border is, and so that's gonna make it a lot easier to put on my concealer later. So I'm gonna show off a foundation that I've been using. I have been using this a ton on off camera because I love it. This was half off at Nordstrom. I did several videos back, I mentioned how I had gotten this for like 10 bucks off Reddit, and it wasn't my shade, but I mostly wanted to just see if I liked the formula. I really liked the formula, and it was a really great mixer, but Nordstrom was having a sale where it was half off, so I went ahead and got my shade, which is shade 1. The only thing I do not like about this is going to be the packaging, because if you have really long nails, you have to push from the bottom here. You push it down, so I'm going to show you. You push it from the back, and then it drips onto you can drip it out like this. That's how the packaging works. But if you ever want your nails to grow out, if you have really long nails, I do not actually see an easy way to push it, because you'd be having to push with your nail, because there's not room for your fingertip to push down. So I am not a fan of the packaging. I think it is really inconvenient. Basically, I'm gonna have to like really awkwardly use a tool in order to use this foundation if I ever have my nails at the length that I want. As you can see, it's a really beautiful foundation. Now I do find the coverage to be really light. I don't think it's sheer, but I would say it's a light end of light medium. However, it really evens out my skin tone, and it makes my skin look really smooth. So it's not gonna cover up all these spots, but it is kind of making my texture go away, which is what I care more about right now. And you can see it just makes my skin look really smooth. It's like not super dewy, but it's not matte either, and depending on what you put underneath the primer, it'll kind of change finish. I have been wanting this foundation for a really long time now. I don't really want to spend that much on a foundation, especially one that I can't really shade match well, so I think ultimately I got a pretty good deal out of it. I'm pretty happy with my purchase. Okay, so now that that's on, I'm going to move on to concealer, and I'm just going to be using my JX Professional concealer. I honestly just feel like nothing is better than this at this point. Yeah, you can see it covers it really well. I've started to mix in just a smidgen of this shade into that shade. I've noticed if I don't brighten my under eyes as much, I can really cover up that line a lot better. And I'm amazed that this hasn't dried out yet. It is still good. I'll just use this until it like becomes fuzzy, I guess. Okay, and now I am gonna kind of spot conceal a couple of these spots. For that, I'm going to use the SHISEIDO stick concealer instead. This one is a little bit thinner and more kind of moisturizing feeling, so particularly right here, got that dark spot. And that kind of just helps to hide a lot of my troubles. And I'm going to use NARS Laguna. I've been really into using this recently. I've used this for about a week straight now. I find that its stiffer formula makes it just a lot more convenient for me to whip out compared to the Charlotte Tilbury one. Like, obviously this is just a lot more convenient to use. And it's a really nice neutral shade too that I can't really overdo, so it's just super easy for me. By kind of rolling the brush, kind of just roll the tip of the brush on the side of my eye socket like this, I can kind of get like, I use what's left on the brush to add a little bit of contour to the side of my nose bridge. I'm going to set under my eyes, and I will set the rest of my face if I end up using powder blush. Otherwise, because I'm not sure if I'm going to use cream or powder yet. So I'm just going to set under my eyes really quickly. I'm using the Flower Nose powder. This is for dry skin. Really great powder. And I do kind of go ahead and set the inside of my face as well. And I also do go ahead and set my forehead. Just wherever the blush isn't going to be, I go ahead and kind of just set. I'm gonna use some eye primer. I'm gonna use the Rare Beauty one. And it's hard for me to use my fingers to blend it because of the fact that I have longer nails, so I'm going to just use this sponge I used on my face. I don't really like using a sponge for my eye primer. I feel like the sponge just soaks up all the primer, but we'll see. Okay, so I need to do my eyebrows. So I've been really enjoying doing my eyebrows this way. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to use the Benefit Brow Microfilling Pen. If I store it upside down, it actually works really well. And so far, I've had it for over 2 weeks now and it's not dried out, so I think maybe this time I got a good product. I forgot to buy a backup during the 21 Days of Beauty when it was the surprise deal, but oh well. And it's just so easy to use, and something about the angles of the prongs, it's just perfect. So I use this to kind of fill out the main body of my eyebrow. And I can also use it to fill above up top my eyebrow, because you know I kind of have to overfill my eyebrows a little bit. And then I can use it to fill the bottoms of my eyebrows as well. So I use it that way, and I'm gonna go in with a darker brow product to add definition and like more easy to see individual hairs. The only reason that I was so burned by it when I first bought it and tried it was because of how quickly it dried out. But so far this one's been alright. This is like the ultimate way to get a natural looking microblade appearance, is to just use a pen. And this just makes it so much faster and easier because you don't have to draw in individual strokes. Literally the only problem I have with it is that it goes only up to deep brown, which is not that dark. And I'm going to add the definition. So particularly on the bottom to give my brow that straighter appearance that I prefer. And then especially in the back, I'm gonna add darker strokes. So no pencils used this time. I've been really enjoying doing my brows like this. Okay, so now it's time for the eyes, which always is the fun part. So I've never actually featured my KVD Dazzle Stick shadows on camera, so I think I'll use these today. And I'm gonna combine them with mattes from the NATASHA DENONA Bronze palette, which is just, every fall I whip that thing out. It's just so much fun. So I'm gonna start off using a Sonia G brush, the Classic Crease. So I'm gonna dive into bronze. As you can see here, I just whip it out every fall. I know my palettes always look like super new. First off, I'm like a delicate baby when it comes to actually dipping my brush in, and second off, I mean, how many palettes do I have, right? But I'm gonna go in with Sundown. This is why I don't generally do palette rankings or palette favorites or anything, because I only put palettes in my collection that I like, and I am well aware that my collection is partially for aesthetics and partially just for collectors' sakes, since there's no way I can feasibly actually generously use every single palette in my collection. And I'm just gonna apply that all over my eyelid. Switching to a pointier brush, I'm gonna switch to a REPHR 14. It's very pointy on the end, so I'm gonna use this on the lower lash line. And then I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to go into this shade just right next to it. And I'm just going to add some depth on the outer corner. These shades always apply and layer and blend so easily. Kind of like that, you can definitely start seeing a difference now. And then I'm also going to let that be the shade, the lower lash line, add some depth. I think I might have the exposure too high for this video, so apologies in advance if the video is a little bit washed out. So I kind of did like a diagonal gradient this time as opposed to a full vertical one. So I'm gonna put this down for now, and now I'm gonna move on to using the shadow. So I think the shadow that will match the look the best today is going to be, I'm gonna use this shade here, which is Electro Bolt. So I'm gonna use a REPHR 21, and I'm going to, I don't like using the stick directly on my eyelids. This is a very soft stick, so it rubs off pretty easily onto a brush. So I'm just gonna have a little bit on my brush. Kind of like that, and I'm gonna just kind of put on a little bit at a time, so I'm just gonna apply a little bit to the brush at a time. It's a little bit slow, but I want to make sure I have control over where the shadow is going. And it is like super soft, it goes on super well. It does, you can definitely feel the moisture in this, like it's definitely a creamy stick shadow. You can feel the moisture on your eyelid, but I don't find it lifts up the eyeshadow underneath, so I don't usually have a problem with that. Okay, yeah, that ended up working perfect. That is just the ultimate shade for this look. I love how that looks. I hope they release a taupey one, because then that could just be like a single shadow look right there. If they release a taupey colored one, I will literally buy it full price the day of. And then if there's any areas where it, like I kind of went on a little unevenly, you can just kind of mash it out with your finger. It'll melt on. Obviously it can look sometimes a little heavy. I could definitely see it emphasizing texture and wrinkles, but it's just such a pretty shade. I really enjoy using it. And again, that was the shade Electro Bolt. Super pretty. And then I'm going to, for my inner corner highlight, I'm going to use Opalescent. This is a Bobbi Brown Luxe Shadow. Bobbi Brown had a Labor Day sale where things were $1/4 off, and it looks like that's about the best it ever gets with Bobbi Brown. So I've been wanting the Luxe shadows for probably about 2 years now, and you know, if it stays in your head for 2 years, I think you can buy it. So nice. I love the Bobbi Brown Luxe shadows. I've been wanting them for so long because like tested them in store and I've seen other people use them and they're so pretty. I'm just gonna put it on the inner corner of my lower lash line. I know I have so many shades that look like this. I didn't need a single that looked like this, but couldn't help myself. And then for the middle part where I want some extra definition, I kind of want it to be a different color. So I'm going to go into True Bronze, which is right here. Yeah, that creates such a beautiful gradient. Okay, cool. And then I do really want to have some darker shade, just like a little bit of darkness on the outer corner, so I think I'll do some shadow liner. And for that, I'm going to use Deep Dive right here. Such a beautiful charcoal shade. And I'm going to make it kind of fat. This is a cream to powder, but especially when you're doing smoky eyeliner with her cream to powder formula, it does work really well. And it's kind of going right over my little pimple here, so if it looks funny, just ignore that. Yeah, and again, I have another pimple right here as well, so I got bumps all over the place. And then I'm kind of doing the open wing effect on the lower lash line just to lengthen my eyes a little bit. Yeah, I like that a lot. And then I'm just going to apply a little dab on the inner corners. So that's gonna be the eye look complete. As you can see, this shadow, since it's so thick and it is creamy, it is going to kind of settle into any, if you have like crease, if you have like a distinct double eyelid fold, it will sink into that, but it's so shiny and my wrinkles are so sporadic that it doesn't really like, it's not super noticeable on my eyelid anyway, so I'm not really peeved by it, but just bear that in mind. They are kind of prone to creasing like while they're setting down. Okay, so I'm gonna put on my lashes and my lower lash mascara off camera. We gotta speed up the video a little bit and I'll be right back. Okay, so my lashes are on. I'm just using Cloud 9 1.0 from Doe Lashes. You can't get these anymore, sadly. I feel like my eyeliner eyeshadow situation is a little bit more difficult to make out now, so I'm gonna take some liquid liner and work on kind of just amping it up a little bit. Or no, I'm not gonna use liquid liner. I'm gonna use my pencil liners. So I'm gonna take the Clio Gel Presso liner in the shade 01. It's this really nice dark cool toned brown, and I'm just going to add a little bit more darkness to the corners of my eyes. I just want it to be a little bit more visible. Kind of like that, and then I am gonna just, again, a little bit on the lower lash line. Okay, so that's gonna be the eyes complete. Really pretty, honestly, pretty simple, but at the same time, the point of the look is just kind of how shiny, shimmery, foiled my eyelids are, which is just, that's what I like doing. I think I want to use this blush from Too Faced. It is the shade I Will Always Love You. Nice orange. I think it'll work really well with the look today. I haven't actually used this shade yet. I've used this formula several times, but I mostly tend to gravitate towards California Love, so I haven't actually used this shade yet. Formula of all of them so far has seemed to be really nice, so as you can see, very nice consistent formula. These are not matte blushes. They do appear matte in the pan for sure, but as you can see on my face, see this kind of golden glow coming through? I did not put down highlighter. This is just coming from the blush on its own. This is about as glowy of a blush as I will tolerate. I have kind of just found out for myself I'm really not a glowy blush person, so I've stopped buying glowy blushes. That and also like the M Cosmetics blush, and even that one I have to really be in the mood for it. So for that reason, I don't really buy glowy blushes anymore. It turns out I just don't really like how it looks on me. I much prefer the look of a matte blush, and then I just use highlighter to turn the blush glowy where I want it. That's just kind of how I've come to realize I prefer to use my blush. I really wish I was that person to like glowy blushes, because there are a lot of really beautiful blush formulas on the market that I wish I could buy and try, but I know I would never use them, so I just have to kind of just say no to it. Which is so hard. Okay, so you can see that's gonna be the blush on. Really pretty. I do feel like right now with all the texture on my face, this Too Faced formula is emphasizing the texture just a little bit, so this is one of those blushes that if you have a lot of skin troubles, you may want to reconsider buying, although this isn't technically available in the US, so I guess that makes it easy for most of you. Like right now, I just feel like it's definitely showing off a lot of my texture, so not really the most flattering blush. I do want to make a more comprehensive series of blush videos in the future. It's just so much work. I just haven't been able to work up the motivation. So I'm going to add a little bit more warmth using the JACLYN bronzer in Birthday Suit, which is such a stupid name. And you can see it's significantly warmer than Laguna, but it's still very light. So I'm going to use the same brush I used for my blush, so that way the two shades kind of melt into each other, and I'm just going to add a little bit of warmth to the outside of my face. Now this bronzer is super matte, and I do really like that personally. And yes, this does smell really strongly of coffee, but it goes away really quickly and it's not super strong, so I kind of just tolerate it. It does make my brush smell like coffee though. So now I do want to put on a little bit of highlighter. I feel like this golden glow here, I just want a little bit more, and I'm going to use, I haven't used this in a while because I've been so obsessed with my Flower Nose Revelation, but I'm going to use Gold Sheer from Clio. The two are very similar, but this one is a little bit darker and more gold, so I'm going to top this one right on top of the glowiness that was established by the blush, and I'm just gonna, it's just to amp it up just a little bit more. I really like using a finger for this formula. And then I'm gonna use this on my nose, and then just a little right on the tip of my nose, and then the rest goes on my chin. And I'll put a little bit under my brow. I've been doing that a lot lately and I do really like how it looks. Yeah, I haven't used that one in a while on camera because I've been using Flower Nose so much, but I can't bear to get rid of it though, because I still do really like it. I'm gonna use some lip liner. I'm just using Buxom. I'm gonna use Buxom. No, not this Buxom. I'm gonna use a different Buxom. I'm gonna use Buxom Incognito, which is right here. This is a discontinued formula, sadly, which is a shame because it's really good. I need to get a darker lip liner so that I can contour the outside of my lips more frequently. I'm definitely in the market for a darker lip liner now because of that. Okay, and then I do want my lip to be a little more on the matte side, and I do want it to be nice and warm. I'm going to use this one right here. I haven't used this on camera yet. This is one of the most recent Milk Tea Velvet Tint releases. It has the new gorgeous, beautiful, minimal packaging on the tube. It has a gold lid, and this one is called Earl Grey Tea. This is not the same as the Zero Velvet or the Blur Fudge formulas. First off, you can see the applicator is different, and I feel like it's more matte than Zero Velvet for sure, but it feels kind of creamier and cushier than Blur Fudge. I'm not really so sure why it's in a separate range though. Like, I'm not really so sure what the point of these tea velvet tints are aside from maybe the darker colors. I don't know. Blends out really easily if you just kind of purse your lips together. And you can kind of blot it out with your fingers. It feels almost like a Peri-Pero one because it does feel kind of slippery and it's a little difficult to control. It is really comfortable. You always want to just kind of be really careful with it. It's kind of messy. Okay, so that's going to be the first layer, and then I'm going to put on a second darker layer. So I kind of definitely did a gradient look to this. That's going to be Earl Grey Tea. All right, some setting spray to finish everything off. Okay, so this is going to be my finished look. Just super simple. I feel like I do this a couple times a year, always, like, to nobody's surprise. I just noticed my lashes are on at different angles, so this eye looks a little bit smaller, which is funny because usually it's this eye that looks smaller. That's okay, nobody's symmetrical. We'll just deal with it, it's fine. I hope you guys enjoyed this makeup look, just playing with some singles. I definitely want to make it a point where these kind of not 3 looks 1 palettes more focus on things that I don't usually feature on camera, particularly my singles, because they deserve so much more love. I am absolutely swamped and overwhelmed with how many good things are coming out this fall and holiday. I feel like everyone's just putting in the work for fall and holiday. There's so many indie brands I really want to try, so it's so difficult. I'm feeling so overwhelmed. It's so hard to pick and choose. It's so crazy, but I am just so excited, so I'm really hoping to be able to film. I'm hoping I can film pretty much nearly every single day. Yeah, I'm overwhelmed, but at the same time, I'm really excited. I'm really ready to meet the challenge head on, so I think I got this. But in the meantime, that's it. If you have any questions or if you have any content requests, please let me know. I always get really anxious about having to quote-unquote invest into my channel by buying new products or whatnot. I don't want to become like that kind of crazy review channel that's reviewing like 60-70 products a month. I couldn't do that to myself. I would just die on the inside. But I definitely, you know, I still do love things that come out, and at the same time, I also want to focus on what I love. It's really hard to strike that balance, but if there are some things that are coming to the market for fall and holiday that you just cannot resist and you need to know, please leave comments, and if enough comments of those come through and those get lots of thumbs up, I will consider them. I really hope you guys enjoy everything. I think I may actually, for the first time ever, make a holiday makeup release video where I discuss all the holiday releases that have caught my eye, so that way I can really gather your thoughts on what you want to see, and that'll be a really great place for you guys to leave feedback on what you want to see. But yeah, that'll be it from me. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye!